Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped, something sick.
I wasn't expecting that
either. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny. I haven't seen that before.
It feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things. Of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and
I actually feel a lot more awake.
Okay. So, you had mentioned wanting to keep working with the part from last time over the last...
Yeah.
After we talked.
Yes.
I just wanted to bring that up, and if you want to talk about that at all, feel free. If not, feel free.
Yeah, I had wanted to go in and unburden it the rest of the way, or at least some more. And for some reason I didn't. Although work has been easier lately and I've been less hard on myself. So it's definitely partially unburdened already.
Yeah.
But I think I have a part of me that's afraid of doing the work wrong, even though, and it almost, what's the word? It almost upped the intensity of that anxiety. Since last time went so well, it was well, now it's your job to keep this going and keep this good thing going. So yeah, I just didn't end up doing anything with that.
Okay.
But I've also been really I had another exile come up related to body image. So that's been a whole thing this week. And I want to help them both. So yeah.
Okay. So the part that's afraid of doing it wrong, and then this other exile. All right. Which one would you like to go further with now, or do you feel like needs your attention most?
Well, I feel a lot more anxiety and a lot more activity with the second one I mentioned. And I also, and I don't know if that means I should work on it or if that means I should work up to it, or if I should finish what I started with the other one, or if I should take care of these riled up parts because they're riled up. I don't know.
Okay. I have one piece of input if you're interested.
Sure.
So you're still texting me, letting me know that you're doing some parts work pretty much every day, right?
Yeah.
So to me, that's awesome. And that kind of tells me that it would be, how do I say it? It's fine to shift gears.
Yeah.
Because you're doing the work, and
okay.
You know what I mean? Like if you were never doing any homework, then I would be more concerned about leaving one thread, because I would say, oh, we're never going to get back to this. Might have that concern. But I don't imagine that happening if you're still into IFS and you're still attempting to do parts work so often.
That makes sense to me. And I do feel like this other thing needs to be addressed. So yeah.
Okay, great. All right. So you've identified what you're calling exile energy around that issue.
Yeah. And a very busy manager that's trying to control things and fears that it can't. And another part that's like, oh my God, this is such a like freak out issue that you shouldn't think of it because you're going to freak out. So that one is back. I know that one's popped up before, but yeah.
Does it mean like specifically in this conversation with me or just in general?
Well, in this conversation and also in general, it didn't help that I had a party with some friends last weekend and I took half an edible gummy and apparently that was way too much. And so my worry about this issue just exploded because I worry like basically about my weight and I felt really bloated that night, especially just for like random reasons. And it became like a hyper focus of like my horrible weed experience. Yeah. So that kind of just kicked the whole thing into overdrive. And now my part that cautions about panicking is like panicking. So,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we can start with that part and just welcome it.
Yes. It works very hard.
Yeah, it works very hard. Maybe just see how you notice it, where you notice it in your body.
Well, it just appreciated being recognized. So
yeah.
And that's kind of a feeling of release and relief in my chest and upper arms and shoulders. I feel like I say that a lot, but yeah, that's where it is.
Okay. So it's already starting to relax a little.
A little bit.
What messages does it have for you?
It has like, life is just too terrifying for you. You can't handle fear. You can't handle things happening that you don't like. You're too sensitive to make it. It's not shaming me for being sensitive. It's just saying you can't function.
Right. Okay. And how do you feel towards it as you hear all that and notice it?
A bit afraid. And a bit like, no, that can't be true. Kind of resistant to believing that idea, because if I believe that idea, then I would never leave the house.
Is the afraid coming from the part itself? Does it feel like?
Yeah, I think mostly. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you can welcome that part of that part. It has that fear.
Yeah.
If it feels all right, just welcome that. Again, see where you notice it.
Okay.
See what kind of qualities that has. And maybe see if you can find out how it serves you. What its intention is.
It's to warn me about impending situations that I can't handle, to stave off panic, but it's also like a source of panic in a way.
Yeah.
And it just feels really traumatized by the bad weed experience.
Yeah.
Like it was not nearly as active before that happened on Friday.
Yeah. Sounds tough.
Yeah.
Sounds like this part is really working overtime.
Yeah, it is.
Fighting, pushing back the panic, also having its own panic.
Yeah.
Add in drugs.
Yeah, because I used to struggle more with anxiety when I was younger than I do now. I still certainly struggle with it, but I had gotten to a place where I was like, okay, well, it's not like getting worse, and I kind of know how it works. But then this one experience kind of threw a lot of that into question.
Yeah. So it's trying to warn you about going into full panic.
Yeah.
And is that a valid concern that it has? That it's something you've experienced, or?
I do think it's a valid concern, although I haven't had like the kind of panic attack where you hyperventilate and think that you need to go to the hospital. Like that's never happened to me before, but I've also heard of people having their first one later in life. So I'm just a little bit like,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've had a lot of anxiety before, certainly.
Yeah. Okay. So you just let it know that all makes sense to you.
Yeah.
And that panic, the severe panic attacks are a real thing. And even if you're at an 8 out of 10 or whatever, that's still definitely a negative experience. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
See if you can just keep inviting it and keep welcoming it and show some appreciation for that warning that it serves.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the same part. Like, I don't know if it's multiple parts of this part or what, but there's like a resistance to welcoming it for fear that it'll cause more anxiety.
Okay. You know, when we very first acknowledged it, it seemed to relax a little.
It did. And then it kind of like got worked up again. And I'm not even sure why. Like,
would it feel okay just to ask and see what that's about?
Let's see. It was just a feeling that I was letting my guard down. So there was a pushback to letting my guard down.
And that guard, what's being guarded?
Just control over, just making sure that I don't freak out. Like that's the best way I can explain it. I'm not even sure if that, if it's possible to prevent that, but there's just a desire to completely control and monitor the situation.
How does it feel? How does the part feel about you doing this kind of looking into it and trying to understand it?
It's scared of doing it, and it's equally scared of not doing it.
Okay.
So
of course we don't have to, right? So
it does want to like, it wants to proceed. It's like slightly less scared of IFS than of not doing IFS.
Okay.
So,
well, just let it know it can share with you in any way that feels safe. If that means not repeating what it says to me, or if that means just negotiating with it to go at a slow pace or a reduced, just a percentage of what it wants to share.
Yeah, it's somewhat reassured by that.
And is it noticing you?
I think it did at first when it felt that relief, but I don't know if it is anymore, because I think I'm either blended with it or blended with another part that's just too scared. Trying to see.
Yeah, see if you can invite it to notice you in whatever way feels like you can deepen your access, or maybe ask it to kind of reposition itself.
Yeah, further from the camera.
Right.
Schwartz looks like. Yeah, I think I got it to step back just a little bit. Okay, I think it stepped back, but now I gotta connect with it.
Yeah, just ask it to tell you more about itself.
Okay.
What it needs.
It just wants to know things will be okay. That nothing will be so bad that I can't handle it. And I feel unsure of what to tell it, which I'm sure is another part, because there's kind of a reaction of, well, there probably are some things that I can't handle. Not maybe I can handle the body image issue, maybe not, but I'm sure there are other things that if they happened, I wouldn't be able to handle. So I don't know how to, I can try and say that I'll be with it no matter what, but I don't know if that's enough.
Maybe you can ask it what steps, how you should go forward in a way that will help it feel like things are okay.
Okay. Yeah, it wants to know it won't be overwhelmed. That's about it, I think.
Is it concerned about other parts overwhelming it? Can it show you?
Let's see. It's worried about a sense of shame overwhelming me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
is that shame from another part? Is that an exile part that carries that shame?
I feel like it is.
Yeah.
And that's interesting because I kept sort of expecting it to say and something else too, like shame overwhelming me and fear overwhelming me or something. And maybe that is the case, but yeah, the shame is the big one that because
that's the knockout punch.
Yeah, because if something bad happens, that's bad, but it's even worse if I blame myself for it.
Yeah.
Or if people blame me or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like this part is very in tune with that shame feeling, that mechanism.
Yeah.
And just how awful it is to be in that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's afraid of being trapped. That's kind of the feeling I'm getting.
Yeah. And are you able to show it appreciation for looking out for that?
Yeah, a little bit. I know it's trying really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Feel a lot of compassion for it.
Great.
Yeah, I feel pretty connected to it.
Mm-hmm. You could try asking it how it would feel about you helping with that, with the shame, by attempting to work with that part that carries that.
Yeah, as long as it could be let out a little bit at a time so as not to be overwhelming. I would be okay with that.
Yeah. How do you respond to that?
I think that sounds good.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel confident in your part's work to negotiate with the part that might have that shame and might overwhelm?
Well, I think I don't know. Don't want to say I do because I don't have a clear idea of how it would work and how it would feel. I'm not experienced it yet, but
Maybe I should ask, how confident do you feel? 1 out of 10.
Maybe like 6 out of 10.
All right.
Yeah. Because I feel like if it's been kept down this whole time already, then there must be an ability to keep it down, you know?
Right. Well, and the protectors, have been doing so much of that, or trying to.
Yeah. So if
that's usually why they don't have the trust, if they haven't seen you do it or don't trust you to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think they've also seen me uncover other exiles at a reasonable pace. Mm-hmm. So I think they're okay with it. I think they're also pretty afraid of the idea of not dealing with it and having to keep suppressing it, and that one day they'll fail.
Yeah.
So they want a solution that's not just up to them, because they're really, really tired and pretty alarmed.
Has this part been able to get a better look at you, a better understanding of your real age, for example? Just ask it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm getting a slight positive reaction to that. Seems like it did think I was younger. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say that was like mildly reassuring for it.
All right. can you ask or intuit anything that would be reassuring for it? What it would need to trust you? Or any requests of me?
It says it pretty much already trusts both of us, and it's not really a matter of trust for it. It's just afraid that it's the exile that it doesn't trust. It's like, what if the exile pops out and just does whatever?
Mm-hmm. Well, in my experience, the exiles do want to be heard. Mm-hmm. So they do often have a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And they also have waited a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be a good thing, or that can mean that they're usually okay going slow.
Yeah. Yeah, they just want to be, that's what I've read, is that they just want to be heard. And so they'll compromise with you. Yeah. They'll negotiate if that means that they'll be heard. And yeah, I know that. And the part I think is aware of it. It's just like, that's its what if.
Yeah.
But I think they, like, the concerned parts still want to make some contact with the exile, because again, they're just afraid of what happens if it continues getting pushed down.
Okay. Is there more you want to discuss with this part? Anything else it would like to share with you, or any advice it has for you?
Not aside from just like, be careful. That's really it.
Okay. And if it feels like we're not being careful, you can jump back in.
Yeah, it appreciates that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You can always just hang up and turn on the TV. I mean,
yeah. And it's also encouraged by the fact that I am calmer now than I was at the beginning of the call. So it's like it's got a little bit of faith in us.
Yeah. Well, and I think we have faith in it. I mean, it was the part that was panicking,
yeah,
or had the anxiety, and in working with it in this way, like, you're showing it exactly how you can go to parts, be gentle, be curious, get the information, get the experience from them, and respond.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, should we switch to maybe one of those other protectors?
Yeah.
That came up?
Who else? Oh, yeah, the manager.
That's right. Controlling things.
Yes. So the manager is kind of an intellectual, which serves it, and both serves it and doesn't serve it, because it really wants to be able to control my weight. And at the same time, it's read the statistics and knows that weight is 70% genetically influenced, and that people who keep theirs weighed down by like intentionally cutting calories are kind of just constantly struggling with hunger and in a constant battle with themselves. And I guess it's another part, or maybe it's myself, or maybe both, that sort of refuses to do that, because I don't want to be miserable my entire life.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah. So there's this feeling of like I've read all about like intuitive eating, and I've tried to read like all of the things to like prevent like all the like reasonable things that I can do to prevent it, but like in the end I don't have as much choice in it as I would like, and that's very disturbing to the manager. But also the idea of just spending a life of constantly restricting myself and obsessing about food is also a hard no to this other part. And myself acknowledges like, yeah, like that's not a road that we ever want to go down, no matter the cost. But it's just really upsetting to the manager because, it's like on my list of things that I don't want. At the top is dying. Number 2 is living a completely miserable life. And number 3 is not being conventionally attractive. So we're dealing with like very polarizing feelings. Like the intensity is just so high with this stuff. And I think, for the record, I think that like fat phobia in our society is horrendous, but that doesn't mean that I don't have an extremely strong desire to be appealing to people.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That all makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Not dying, being at the top of the list.
Yeah. Yeah.
That definitely checks out.
Your appearance and your weight doesn't define your worth, and it, in many cases, doesn't define your attractiveness either. But like, these parts feel strongly, and I understand why, because those are people's standards in a lot of cases. Yeah.
Yeah, other people's standards, and you have your own parts and your own standards.
Exactly, I do. I do.
Yeah. So you're able to just let that part know that this makes sense, and that you see how difficult it is to balance all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very difficult.
Yeah. And how are you feeling towards it now?
I feel compassion, and I also feel that anxiety of like not knowing what to tell it, because I don't have completely reassuring answers for it.
Me neither.
Yeah.
So the part that wants to tell it anything, let's see if we can get that to step back.
Yeah.
And let's let it tell us stuff.
Okay.
Just stick with the curiosity.
Right. Well, this part, one of the things that has been notable to me is that in reading about like, how to be, how to stop obsessing over your body, blah, 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 like not even body positivity, but like trying to have body neutrality or something. Like people always say like, just think about all the great things your body can do, and how it moves you around, and you can like do fun things with it. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm grateful for that, but that has no bearing on my desire to be attractive. Like that does absolutely nothing to reassure me. And I don't know why I keep seeing that piece of advice. Like the manager is kind of frustrated and feels a little bit alone, because it's like, how does anyone get reassured by that?
Right. So the manager is exposing itself or being exposed to all this information. Not all of it checks out.
Yeah, no.
At least to it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds really hard too.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of isolating. Like, I think other people sometimes have different reasons. Like they do want to be healthy or they want to feel a certain way. But for me, it's about looking good. And yeah.
And is it this manager? Does the manager have the looking good thing? Does that feel like it comes mostly from that manager part? Or is the manager part doing the managing for some other part?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's managing an exile.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe you can ask it and just see if you can learn more about kind of that fear that, if it didn't work so hard.
Yeah. If it didn't work so hard, it wouldn't be able to keep an eye on things. It just can't conceive of not working hard, because it needs to. It needs to. I don't know. It needs to make sure that I'm not fat, except that it also kind of knows that it can't completely make sure of that. So it's very upset.
Right. And you mentioned the looking good felt like having some exile energy.
Yes, definitely. There's like a feeling that if I'm not a certain level of attractive, that nothing in life will be worth it.
Yeah. And are you okay just witnessing that and learning more about that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just, I don't know, like it sounds really weird and really vain, but there is a feeling like, just nothing would be the same. Nothing, because it would be about the person that I am. So I could do all these things, all these cool things in my life, and like be a really interesting person. But if I'm not attractive while doing it, then it makes absolutely no difference.
Yeah. Yeah, see if you can learn more about that.
Yeah.
That feeling of making no difference, or of, what would happen if you weren't attractive, if you're fat, whatever this part is concerned about.
Yeah.
I'll keep reminding you that you don't need to share it with me.
Yeah, makes sense. I feel like I know what it's trying to say, but it is hard to even put into words.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
And what would it rather be doing if it didn't have to worry about that? If you were able to
The exile.
Help out the exile. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What would this protector, this intellectual manager, rather be doing?
Oh, okay. The manager would rather. It would rather monitor and study and analyze like literally anything else that it actually finds interesting, that can actually make a difference, that isn't so anxiety. Yeah.
It really cares about making a difference.
Yeah.
And how old does it think that you are?
I find that question always so hard to answer, but I think what I'm getting is like high school, like the number 17 popped into my head. And then I thought about it a little and remembered that I started feeling really self-conscious around 15. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
This part became really active around them.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I had been super skinny as a kid and I started to kind of like fill out when I was 15. So it's when my clothes stopped fitting. And even though I was like literally a growing teenager, every time something would stop fitting, I would be like freaking out.
Yeah. Yeah. Just let it know that all makes sense to you and that you'd like to help it out.
Yes.
And what does this part think about you going to the 15 or 17-year-old, or about you going to any of these other exiles that it might be orbiting?
There's a sense of futility, like, sure, give it a try, but like the facts are the facts, and we're not going to feel good about this.
By the way, did you update it on your age?
Let me do that. Hard to tell what it thinks about that. I'm not sure if it received the message or not.
Okay. Well, still, it sounded a little reluctant, but it was saying, sure.
Yeah. Okay, wait, yeah, I think it feels kind of like meh about me being 29, like it's because on the one hand it's like I made, and I've had this thought before, so it might have had some awareness of my age before, but there's a kind of feeling like, well, at least I made it to 29 without being like super huge. And then on the other hand, it's like, oh no, I'm getting older. And you know what comes with that is like all kinds of things that make you less quote unquote attractive. So it's anxiety either way, no matter how old I am.
Yeah. But when it comes to your ability to work with younger parts, that's certainly independent of your age and weight.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean it's not entirely independent of your age if we're going to younger parts, because you weren't able to do it when you were 5, but
certainly independent of my weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically like, well, sure, go to the exile, but like, it's gonna suck. You're gonna have to grieve the facts of it. So,
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's concerned about the grieving process.
Well, I don't know if it's concerned. It's more just like defeated. It's like, well, you're gonna have to grieve this, but also repressing it has not been going well. So fucking go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And how do you respond to it, hearing that?
I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. I hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like a very wise part if it's hip to all of that and understanding of that process.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anything else it wants you to know? Concerns that it has?
I don't think there's anything else in particular.
Okay. You can thank that part for all of its hard work.
Yeah, it's certainly been hard at work lately. Some part said there's also something to do with like my childhood and me idealizing my dad who was thin and kind of making my mom who was bigger in like casting her as kind of the quote unquote worst parent or whatever. And growing up, I've realized since then that both of them have different flaws and both of them have been very well intentioned. But that certainly affected me.
Yeah. Do you detect an age that part is coming from?
That's like elementary school, like like 8 or 9 or something, maybe even younger.
Okay. Sounds like we've heard from got glimpses of a couple young parts.
Yeah. And there's definitely a feeling of like, you're going to be like your mom because I have like, my body type is closer to hers than his. He can just, barely gain any weight doing whatever. And I know that's not the case for me. So there's this like terror of being like her. And that also extends to like fear of depression and mental illness, because that was another thing I associated with her. I've always feared becoming like her, which is feels bad to say that, but yeah.
And as you're learning this from this part, how are you feeling towards it?
Well, what it's saying definitely makes sense. I feel a lot of just like, yeah, that checks out.
Yeah. And are you feeling curious about getting to know it better, to hear more of its story and more of its experience?
For this one, I do want to get to know it, and I want to get to know all the parts that are afraid to be like my mom, because I think that's really important. At the same time, I feel like the exile that just feels I would be a non-person if I were unattractive, I feel like that's really driving the shame like even more.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Does that one have an age?
That one feels kind of timeless. Like, it's just like ever since I've been aware of human beings, I've been aware that being attractive is important. My mind kind of flashes back to when I was like 4 years old or something at the grocery store. And obviously this was before the days of, like not assuming people's pronouns and everything. So there was this person at the grocery store that I noticed, and I said something about like, oh, that man, something to my dad. My dad was like, that's a woman. And I was like, oh, she had short hair. And I remember just being like, that's so like weird. Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I kind of like felt sorry for her in that moment, or felt like I never wanted to be like her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot to take in and understand.
Yeah.
For a 4-year-old.
Yeah. And it's weird because I find plenty of androgynous people perfectly attractive as well. But like, sure. Just that particular person seemed in a bad way, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. And you feel all right just inviting that part to share more with you about how it was for it? Experiencing that and experiencing any...
Yeah, there was kind of a fear, or at least there's a fear now, that I don't want to be like that person. Don't want to be like not recognized as what I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. 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 See if you can just learn more about this part's experience of not being recognized. And how that came up and what that was like for it.
Okay. I know, it's just a sense of fear. Yeah, it's just like fear, and don't want to be like that, and that's really all that I'm getting so far.
Yeah, you could ask about times that it felt not recognized.
Okay. Well, definitely. Still don't entirely know why, but and this is this is really kind of weird, because so many women talk about how getting catcalled was this traumatic experience for them. But for me, I didn't really get hit on that often, just randomly by people. And like, I was able to sort of figure out that I had some level of like attractiveness. Like I would date people and they'd find me hot. Like I would go on like dating sites and get people liking me and stuff. But like, I don't know. I would not get like a lot of like random attention, especially because I was kind of like a late bloomer in high school. And And so sometimes I was never sure what I looked like to other people.
Yeah.
And if I was good enough.
Yeah. So see if you can kind of stay connected with the 4-year-old part.
Yeah.
And see how that that feeling of not good enough, just see if you can learn more about how that arises, how that was experienced at that time. And I also wanted to check in and make sure that and see that how you were feeling about I know that a lot of protectors are worried about being overwhelmed, going too fast, etc.
Yeah, they're not making a big deal right now.
Okay. And you're feeling good about being with this part?
So for some reason, I still feel like we may be working on the wrong exile or something, because there's just a feeling of like not being recognized, the woman in the store, blah, blah, blah. But like, I have this like visceral feeling of just like the way my body feels in my clothes. And there's a feeling of like, oh, like being fat is even worse than like whatever else I'm talking about right now. That's kind of the energy that I'm getting kind of sideways while I try to talk to these other parts. So,
yeah. So what I understood from an exile was this feeling of kind of not being a person.
Yes.
If not attracted.
Yes.
Is what you're hearing fat is worse than that?
No, that is
okay.
Like not like being invisible and just being completely unable to change it. Being trapped in that lack of being totally helpless to have any kind of effect on people.
Yeah. And do you feel like you have a sense of that exile? Which one that is? Is that the 4-year-old? Is that another one?
That is. That's one that's saying like, you've gone too far, like you've already gained too much weight, you're going to like, when will the point be? It's coming. When will it be that you stop being a person?
Yeah. So this part's main concern is about being invisible, not being a person.
Yeah.
And how do you notice this part? You see it? Do you sense it?
I definitely feel it in my body. Because it's like hanging out in those areas I'm self-conscious about. And there's just a feeling of dread of like, when's it going to happen? And that's where I think my mom comes in, because I'm like, there's a feeling like I'm going to end up like her. When is it going to be? Yeah.
And does this part feel like it's connected to an age?
Well, there's that fear that I'm doomed to turn out the same as my mom, and that's kind of like I don't know, maybe like 11 or so. I mean, really, I felt that way at a lot of different ages.
Mm-hmm.
Of like, and it's connected to my issues in school, because I noticed that my dad could do things, like make himself do things and make progress on stuff. And I noticed that I couldn't. And I noticed that my mom also couldn't. And so forever, I've just lived with this secret fear that I am going to turn out the same way as her. I'm going to be really, really depressed and quote unquote overweight. And all of these things, and I won't be able to control it. I won't have any say in it. It's just how I am, who I am.
Yeah. If I'm remembering correctly, when we had heard about school before and that getting hard, I feel like that was kind of 11-year-old-ish time, perhaps.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Actually, the sort of landmark moment for school was probably when I was 9, but it all the shit continued like after that, for sure. But yeah, definitely. There's just like, I wanted so badly to be like my dad, and yet everything I was seeing seemed to confirm that I was going to be just like my mom.
Yeah. And what was that like for this part?
Really terrifying.
Yeah.
Like I had no control over myself or my destiny or what anyone thought of me, anything I did. I would never make progress on anything I cared about. Like I wouldn't have control. Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you respond as you learn this about this part and its experience?
Well, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very sad.
Yeah. So you can let it know that you see that as for what it is making sense and being sad.
Yeah. There's a part that wants to push back, though. There's a part that's like, well, that's not true. You can be different than your parent. Like you literally are different. Like you're genetically 50% different. So like, but I know that one is trying to, I mean, it means well, but I know it's not necessarily helping. So
I'll
ask it, step back, but it's afraid that getting in touch with that fear, that pain is scary to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like that part that was concerned about if there would be grieving involved.
Yeah. And I guess I can say to it, like, it's not even wrong. Like there is a reason for hope. Like it's not wrong, but it also, like, we can't get to know the exile if we keep shutting the exile out.
Right. So what feels right for you next?
I think it's kind of stonewalling me. Like it's kind of like, I don't know. Like it's like trying to kind of hide from me, I think.
The exile?
No, the part that wants to manage the exile.
Good. Let it go hide.
No, but I mean, it wants to be sneaky. Like, I think it's kind of like trying to not respond to me and still keep controlling the situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm connecting with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just invite it to notice you. Again, your real age. And if it helps, maybe you can let it know about, our game plan of negotiating with the exile, going at a pace that feels safe.
Yeah.
And maybe we haven't quite done that, so remind ourselves.
Say that again?
We're reminding ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I feel like I'm getting like firefighter energy from this one. Like it's kind of, I feel like you can probably tell I feel some affection for it. Like, but it kind of just doesn't want to listen, because even looking at me would take it out of its confidence in what it's saying. So it doesn't really want to connect.
Okay. And the confidence of what it's saying about there being hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wants to keep saying its thing and protecting the exile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And connecting with me would interfere with its goal. It's kind of the same deal as the scrambler one that keeps me from doing my work.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So this one is sneaky.
Yes.
And protective.
Yes.
And clever.
Yeah, it's trying its hardest, and I can appreciate that. Because I guess it knows that I have really really detail-oriented managers who will jump on anything and be like, yeah.
Yeah. I want to check in, if it's all right, with any part of yours that might have an agenda, with the pace at which we go, and ask, how you feel, how your parts feel about what we've already done. Like, if you were to not continue working with this exile at all.
Yeah, there's there's some more, like there's an agenda part for sure. That's like, I want to unburden it now, but at the same time, there are also other parts that feel significantly better than I did when I came in here, and so they're kind of like, oh, doing this helps, so we can like, even just doing this helped, and the more I do it, the more it'll help. So they feel like they have a lot more hope than before, even though there is also the agenda part.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been really helpful for me to hear and be able to start distinguishing different exiles.
Yeah. Yeah.
They all need you, and they all have their parts and have their influence over the system. And
yeah, that was interesting to kind of go to these different memories and realize that they weren't the core thing that is disturbing me, even though they may be like, they're important too, of course, but yeah.
Yeah. What would you like to do next?
I don't know. I mean, has been over an hour. So what maybe I should ask you, what would you like to do?
It's been just over an hour. Yeah, because we've just started to contact this exile, I would probably, not suggest going a whole lot further with it, just in the interest of time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I would also check in with it and kind of hear from it.
I want
how to close the conversation with it.
Okay. Let's see.
And I also just want to say, like, that doesn't mean I need to hang up right now. I mean, if we talk for 10, 15 more minutes, that's fine. I just, sometimes the exile stuff can take an hour.
I don't think this one is going to be a short one, but I don't think they ever are. But yeah. See, does it have anything?
Any needs, any requests, any concerns, any way that it would like for you to follow up with it, or, maybe I'm thinking about kind of creating a path and making it so it's easier to get back in touch with this part in the future. You might just ask it about those things.
Well, even just intentionally contacting it just now, I think it gave me something kind of new, which was like a feeling of sadness. Not overwhelming at all, but just like a little taste of like, I'm sad, and it's like glad that I'm there paying attention to it, which I don't think has ever happened with this one before. So that's cool.
Yeah. It is cool. And the part that was worried about grief.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can see that. Like, feeling a little sadness from this part is kind of awesome.
Yeah, exactly. I think in general, the whole gang of them feel a lot more comfortable with the idea of exploring this more on my own, because before I would just get super overwhelmed by the alarmed part, and then that would be it, and I wouldn't be able to access any self to calm them down.
Yeah.
But now that seems to have changed, at least for now. So, yeah, I don't know that the exile has any more requests, because I feel like I've barely even contacted it yet. But there's just a general feeling of being encouraged from the system.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other parts to address? Any other parts have any concerns?
Well, I guess I would like to thank the sneaky firefighter for letting me get that glimpse.
Yeah.
I feel proud of it. And yeah, just all of them.
Yeah, it's really great.
Yeah.
They're all good.
They're all good. Yeah, I guess that's it.
Okay. Any questions for me? Feedback? Things we should do differently?
I don't think so. I'll let you know if I think of something.
Okay. Great.
All right.
Hope it was helpful.
It was, definitely. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, bye.
Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Yvonne, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. to every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts, and to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows? That might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube. And they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.